in India, we have this tradition in the last 2 decades of making biopic on sportsmen. Okay. So far, so good. Then in India, we have to make it emotional. We have to make it drama. Okay. And the problem is when there is drama, there has to be a villain. There has to be a song. There has to be a duet when typically the hero and heroine are running still around trees. Believe me, even today in Bollywood, in movies made out of Mumbai, the heroes and heroines are still running around trees, even after all these years. That I don't mind if they do to anyone, but doing that to Vishy Anand, please, that's really scary for me.
As bad as 2020 has been for almost everybody, it was a pretty good year for chess. Playing chess online has become a pastime for many during lockdowns, and the Queen's Gambit, the Netflix series, has inspired even more to get into the game. In this episode of Let's Talk About Chess, I'm looking forward to talk about the chess year 2020 with a special guest. He's an international master from India and has been writing on chess since the late 1980s. He's an insider of the Indian chess community, and he also has an impressive collection of chess books. So we will also talk about his favorite chess books of 2020. I met this gentleman in Moscow during the World Championship in 2012, and 1 year later in Chennai, where he showed me the nightlife in his city. Let's talk about chess with Venkat Saravanan. Welcome.
Hi, Eric. Nice to be here. Nice to be with you. Thanks.
Do you remember our nightlife sessions in Chennai?
If you can call them as nightlife, yeah, I do remember them. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah. How are you doing? How are you doing right now? How has life 2020 treated you?
Pandemic is especially difficult in India because, as a country, we don't have a great healthcare system. So that's a problem here. And of course, we are a nation of more than 1.3 billion people. So in fact, when the pandemic hit us, we were all very apprehensive about what was going to happen, because in India, we were pretty scared whether we could ever stop the spread at all. Surprisingly, the medical part and the governmental part, they've done quite well, and the pandemic is quite restricted now. Of course, with the second strain just off late, we don't know what's going to happen. But the chess part is really, really difficult. There are quite a number of chess professionals across India right now. And among them, many of them have lost their livelihoods. I'm talking about coaches and arbiters and organizers who are all dependent on chess for a livelihood. Many of them have lost their livelihood and they're not doing quite well. And also there are absolutely no chess tournaments in India, online tournaments. There are very, very few, very few conducted by individual organizers. There is nothing conducted in the official capacity. So there is not much of chess activity as well. So this year has been especially bad for chess players of India.
Did you play yourself this year anywhere? No, any online tournaments or over-the-board tournaments?
Okay, I hit the age of 50 this year.
Oh, okay.
And I realized at the beginning of the year that my hands wouldn't move the mouse as fast as other guys do. They say, right, for 90s kids, chess players, they were all born with laptop in their hands. The current generation seems to have been born with mouse in their hands. They make ridiculous number of moves in 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and so on. So I realized at the beginning of the pandemic, started playing online tournaments. However much I would like to keep my competitive edge, I found out that I just couldn't compete. So I just completely stopped playing online chess. Yeah. So I haven't played anything for the last 1 year.
Okay. But you worked do you still work as a chess mentor? this year, or has it always also been difficult this year?
That has continued. In fact, that has continued quite well. I have, instead of being a chess coach in India, I prefer to be a mentor.
Mhm.
So I have about 5 to 6 guys who are already grandmasters or would-be grandmasters. So for the last 6 to 7 years, this is what we have done. Typically, I meet them once in a couple of months. Many of them are out of Chennai, out of my home town and home state. So they travel to Chennai and they sit with me for a few days, and we review what they did in the previous, let's say, a couple of months. Then we decide on what kind of work every guy will do. And then we work for a few days. This we have done for the last 7-8 years, and it has been working quite well. I produced a couple of grandmasters, or close to produced the second grandmaster. So most of the guys whom I work with are all doing quite well. I'm quite happy with the work we did together. And they're all much stronger players than me. So my experience of playing chess now for about, close to 35 years. So that part, and also I have been a second of some of the strong players in the country, very strong players in the country. And I worked on chess with almost all the players of the country, the very top, from the very top, most of them. So that experience has helped me to be a good supporting side. So the role of mentor is something I've come to really enjoy. And of course, when you interact on chess with strong players over a period of time, you also become their friends. So we all enjoy it together. So whatever sessions we used to have earlier, we continue to do that online nowadays. So that part remains intact. Only thing is, now we have added stuff like, playing practice games between them. See, typically we pool together 4 or 6 people, and we set an opening predetermined, and they play that position, and such kind of things we do. So we have kind of made the best of the pandemic right now. So there is a lot of chess work going on. But of course, we do miss sitting across each other, whether at home or across in a hotel room. That part we miss a lot. But okay, this is the best of the time that we could manage. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you also used to travel a lot, right? Because you played a lot of tournaments in Europe, and also you went to the US, to St. Louis, and visited the Singfield Cup. So I guess you missed that, traveling this year.
Of course. Apart from being a mentor and playing chess, I have also been a columnist or a writer for many years now. So whenever I go and play any tournament, I used to write about them. And also, as you said, the last 3 years of the tour at St. Louis events, that thing I was a correspondent for Chess Base. So that I really miss. But of course, there has been no travel at all inside India. In fact, the beginning of the pandemic was so tough in India that for weeks you can't even step out of home without a reason. They were very strict about it. The government was very strict about it. And traveling between cities, between states, all of them are relaxed slowly. And even today, there is no complete relaxation. So traveling was completely out of question. We hardly leave home in India, especially in Chennai where I live. So yes, everyone, we all now long for small pleasures, traveling for another city, or having a weekend in a resort, or just even a pleasure of going for a movie with your family. All that has been taken away. It's been really tough. Yes.
It's been tough. Yeah, it's been tough for everybody. So one more thing I wanted to ask you, you're also secretary of the Chess Players Forum in India. Can you tell me something about it, what it is?
Yeah, 7 of us, senior players of the country, all of us are almost, we don't have any great playing ambitions as such. So we decided to do something for chess players of the country. In India, the chess players, this huge body which has made chess a big game in India, this is the body of people who don't have any rights for them, anyone looking for their welfare for them, and those kind of things. See, chess explosion in India has happened in the last decade or so due to two reasons. One is Vishy Anand, of course. Every kid, every parent, they look at Vishy. Not only his chess, the kind of a guy he is, the intelligence, the intellectual that he is. So spread of chess happened mainly due to Anand, and then a very, very exciting crop of youngsters for the last 10 or 15 years kept on coming up to the top. So chess exploded in India mainly because of numbers. So not by any real planning or any real structure existing. For example, we don't have a structure of producing very talented players done by any official body. It has been done by individuals. For example, you might have heard of RB Ramesh, Grandmaster. He's one of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah.
So he has been producing Grandmaster after Grandmaster every year or so for the last 10 years. We had an organization, a company named Microsense Computers. They brought in Vladimir Kramnik and then Boris Gelfand to train the best of our youngsters for the last couple of years. So that includes, some of the biggest prodigies of the country like Pragnananda, Gukesh, Vaishali, Raunak Sadhwani, such kind of very prodigal talents, prodigious talents. So we have some activities going on, but there was no structure. So we wanted desperately an organization in which there are players who are past their prime, who are not still into competitive chess, but will be ready to work for chess and chess players in a very, we don't want to be a trade union or something, but we wanted to do something positive for the development of chess in the country. This is one. And also, the government of India, since the last few years, they've made it mandatory that any body which is the administrative body of sports in India has to have 25% of the body as professional sportsmen who have some standing in the sport. So we also want to get into the administration of chess in India. So this was the reason we started it. So some of the names that we have in this body are 7 of us. So it has Varghese Koshi, International Master, as the president. Dibendu Barua, Grandmaster, as the vice president. I'm the secretary. Women Grandmaster Swati Ghate as the treasurer. And then International Master Neeraj Mishra. Correspondent International Master Anil Kumar. And Grandmaster Abhijit Kunte. All of us have played for India. Almost all of us are Olympians. So we started working on it somewhere last year in July. Unfortunately, after the pandemic hit, and also the association, the All India Chess Federation, went to a split, and they're fighting each other, two factions fighting each other, court cases in the legal system for the last 1 year. So we haven't been able to do much, but we have ambitions, even though we haven't done much activity. We slowly want to put in place a structure that will help towards developing chess in the country.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a great task for 2021 then, for the next year. But we wanted to talk about 2020, this strange year for us. And let's go to January, when everything was still looking normal. And I also went to the Tata Steel tournament in Vaikanze. Do you remember who won the tournament, Saravanan?
Yeah, of course. It was a tie between Caruana and Carlsen, yeah, two of the most exciting players of our times.
It was not a tie. Caruana won 10 points out of 13 and Carlsen had 8 out of 13. So yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was not a tie. I'm sorry. Yeah. Caruana won ahead of Carlsen. I'm sorry.
Yeah. 2 points ahead. It was quite impressive. 10 out of 13. Yeah. And there were also some Indian players, of course. Vishy Anand played his 20th tournament in Vaikanze, which is amazing, isn't it? 20 tournaments. Have you ever been to Vaikanze yourself?
Yeah, of course. I've been to Vaikanze in, I think, 2005 15 or so. I've been there once, but of course, I followed it a lot on a very active basis. So it's one of my most favorite tournaments. I've been in Vaikanze when there were the three sections. The crown section, the masters, and the C section, A, B, C. So I've seen Vaikanze in its full glory. Yes.
And also traditionally, quite a lot of players from India played there. Vishy, of course, 20 times. He won it 5 times, I think. First time in 1989. It's hard to imagine. This is that long ago. And this year, Surya Ganguly played, and Nihal Sarin in the Challengers group, they call it right now.
Yeah.
Nihal is one of the prodigies in India, I think. And is it good to play for him, these tournaments, these Challengers tournaments? Is it too tough for him, or is it okay for him to have this strong opposition?
No, not at all. See, Nihal Sarin, Gukesh, and Pragnananda are three youngsters from whom we expect a lot for Indian chess. Of course, there are many others as well. Ronak Sadhwani, Vaishali. There are many, honestly, but Nihal has been the star among them. If you know this, just a week ago, he won the World Online Under-18 Championship. He has been doing a lot. Nihal is really on the news. So as Prag and Gukesh. It's really exciting to watch these young prodigies, how they are marching. And, in my opinion, these very young talents, like grandmasters by the age of 13, 14, 15, they have taken the maximum advantage of the pandemic. Many of them are, they're throughout the day, they are online and they're playing chess. Nihal Sarin used to play online for even 8 to 12 hours a day at a stretch. For many months, he has done that. His trainer, Srinath, and his manager, Banjan, they have told me that basically, Nihal found a different way to develop in chess. The internet taught him. This is one of the cliches about Nihal. By playing a lot and experimenting a lot, the boy gained a lot of playing strength. And right now, he is getting a lot of good breaks. See, thanks to the pandemic, he gets to play Magnus Carlsen online.
Sure.
They rumoredly played about hundreds of games between them, and he has even defeated Carlsen on many occasions. So these are things which are very exciting about the pandemic. So I'm quite happy that Nihal, Pragnananda, Gukesh, they are all getting very good breaks. Start from the start of this year. Yes.
Mm-hmm. The start of the year was more or less normal, with the Tata Steel. And next month, we're recording this on the 29th of December, 2020. The Tata Steel tournament will go ahead, but only one group with 14 players. And I can already reveal that I'm going to talk to the tournament director, Jeroen van der Berg, shortly before the tournament to see the last state of affairs. But let's jump to March. There's another big tournament. Was played there, one of the last tournaments of the year, I think, over the board tournaments. The very important one, which was the candidates tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about that? They played 7 rounds and then they decided to stop it.
See, honestly, some decisions had to be taken. So they decided to end the tournament because there was going to be a freeze coming into effect about flights out of Russia. So I don't think there is any controversy in there. Just a common sense decision was taken. But that also means a very unnatural scenario where you have one cycle finished and you already have some leaders. See, for example, before the tournament, I expected personally, some of my friends expected that it will be a fight between probably Caruana and Ding Liren, two of the most exciting players in 2018-2019. But then Ding had not a very good show in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have two co-leaders, yeah. Maxim Vachier-Lagrave and Nepomniachtchi, again, two very exciting players. So you have kind of a path set with half the tournament over. So I don't know how fair it is to conduct the second half of the tournament later on. But at the same time, you cannot annul the result of the tournament because that will be unfair for those who have done well already in the first half. So it's a kind of a surrealistic situation. So again, there cannot be a right or a wrong decision. The FIDE has to come up with some decision and just pursue it. Whether how it proves to be, it's anybody's take. But yeah, it's a very funny situation, I find.
Yeah, I think the gap between those tournaments, let's say the first half and the second half, whenever this will be played, I don't know, there's still not a fixed date, I think. But more than a year is isn't it a bit too long, don't you think? I think a month or something, or 2 months perhaps, but not a year.
But we didn't have that luxury, isn't it? None of the players could travel, and especially from China to travel to Europe for the two Chinese would have been really difficult. So honestly, as I said, there cannot be very just decisions for everyone in this tournament.
No.
If someone has to just take a decision according to some logic and everyone has to follow it, that's about it, because we live in very surrealistic situation right now in this world.
Who's your favorite to win next year? MVL or Nepomniachtchi or perhaps Caruana?
My personal favorite is Caruana because, in 2018 and 19, he showed guts against Carlsen. Honestly, Magnus Carlsen has been rolling over everyone for the last few years or so after he became the world champion. And in my opinion, Caruana was the one who showed guts by standing up to him and winning tournaments ahead of him and giving him a real fight in the tournaments they played. Not to mention that they drew the world championship match against each other also in an equal score. But at the same time, I'm a fan of both MVL as well as Nepomniachtchi for simply the way they play chess. Especially, Vachier-Lagrave is personification of real guts, the way his opening repertoire is and the kind of tactical chess he plays. And Nepomniachtchi is a player with very strong ideas. Personally, I think I'll be happy if any one of them wins, with a small extra preference for Caruana. That's how I would say.
Okay. But he still has chances, I think. Yeah, he's 4 out of 7, as far as I know. I'm not completely have the
3.5 out of 7. 3.5 out of 7.
3.5. So just to...
Yeah, MVL and Nepo are on 4.5 out of 7. That's plus two. Whereas Fabiano is on equal score at 3.5 out of 7, along with Anish Kiri and Wang Hao. Again, Anish is also a personal favorite of mine. So it's going to be a messy picture. Let's see.
Okay. And you don't have information when it will be played?
Definitely not.
Nothing yet. No.
My information is as good as yours. That's it.
Okay. Could be. Okay. Let's see what happens then next year. In between, I have to ask you something about our mutual friend, Vishy Anand, because he was also stuck this year in Germany, not far away from where I live. He went to play a couple of Bundesliga games, but he didn't manage to come back on time. There was no more flights out of Germany. I'm in Germany right now and going to Chennai. It was very difficult for him because it took him a very long time before he managed to come back. How was it received in India?
Honestly, we were all very worried.
Really?
Honestly, we were all a very worried lot, not just as chess fraternity. Mm-hmm. The whole of the country was worried for him because, he was the biggest sportsman struck outside the country without a clear picture about how he was going to return back. It was not a very pleasant situation. So I believe when he got the first opportunity, when the skies opened up literally, he was the first guy. He was one of the first guys to come back. I think the government was very nice to him and put him on the very first flight, which they kind of evacuation flights which the government of India arranged from many parts of the world. We call them as Vande Bharat flights. So these flights are arranged by the government of India with very strict COVID protocols while flying as well as on the ground, and how you check out after reaching a destination and all that. So it was very unpleasant, honestly. I was kind of keeping track with him, messaging him once in a while and all that. Okay, it was tough for him, but okay, we all know that Vishy is very strong, so he was fine. He handled it quite fine. The funny part, I think, happened when he came back to India. So Vishy lands back in Chennai. At that time, the protocol was that once you land in Chennai, you have to be on isolation for 2 weeks. So he went back to Chennai and they had made their house ready so that they lived in the same house, Aruna, Akhil, their son, as well as Vishy, but completely in different wings. They were not moving with each other. So the joke was when he arrived, they all stood quite far apart and they just waved him back home. That was very funny. But okay, honestly, we were all very relieved that he came back to Chennai. That was quite scary to have Anand months stuck in Germany.
Yeah, but he was taken care of course, by his friend Hans Walter Schmidt here in Bad Zoden and his wife. So he had a more or less a good time, yeah, and just very quiet for him. Long walks and some good food and
he told me that.
Learning even better German.
He was telling me he was having a good time with Hans Walter. And okay, who doesn't have a good time with Hans Walter?
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Okay. So let's move on to the online tournaments, because due to the pandemic, chess moved online and became extremely popular. Yeah, it has become the most popular sport, I think, this year in this lockdown. And also in India, of course. Yeah, I looked up a stand-up comedian called Samay Raina. Yeah, that I call it right. Yeah, Samay, stand-up comedian and also a chess lover. What happened? And can you explain Indian humor to me?
Okay, see, there is this Indian YouTube culture of comedians. Many of them in Hindi, the Indian language. Okay, with English mixture. We are a country of twin languages. Hindi is the indigenous language, which is most prevalent in the country. But English is the transition language, because not all over the country we have people speaking in Hindi. Mm-hmm. So these comedians basically are YouTubers who have regular YouTube streams, channels, and so on. And many of them, it is their livelihood. And they are quite brilliant as well as comedians. But of course, this is Indian stand-up comedy. It's not one of your political comedies like the United States, not like Seth Meyers or that kind of a variety it is. So most of them are just jokes, skits and stand-up comedy with prepared jokes and so on. So what happened was, when the pandemic started and when obviously people were sitting at home and were turning to the TVs and YouTubes more. So Sagar Shah of ChessBase India, his YouTube channel got very active. He started collaborating with comedians, and he started with Samay Raina. It started as a kind of, series of everyday sitting with Samay Raina and teaching him chess. And then Samay got slowly better. And slowly he attracted a lot of people to come to his streams and watch chess. See, this was remarkable because, for example, I'll tell you, someone like Sagar Shah, who runs ChessBase India, has about 500,000 followers. Whereas a comedian who is doing stand-up comedy in Hindi on YouTube has millions of followers. Okay. So what happens is, when that comedian comes and sits with Sagar Shah and they have a YouTube stream together when Sagar is teaching Samay chess, people who are who have nothing to do with competitive chess are chess players who are into the chess crowd. They started picking up a lot of interest in chess. So this proved to be wonderful, and slowly, they brought in many more players. So they started conducting tournaments. Samay himself started conducting tournaments. He conducted a tournament for international masters only, for example. Then they had tournaments for just for comedians together, you know. And then they proceeded to make Vidit Gujarati and Sagar Shah as comedians. Actually, as we are talking, I think a few days ago, they all traveled to Pune where Sagar Shah gave his first stand-up comedy show he conducted. So
Okay.
this is kind of a marriage between chess players and the comedians it became, due to which we got huge number of general public started observing chess a lot. See, that's why if you go to see, for example, right now there are tournaments going on, online tournaments going on right now. Typically, you go for a stream of that with even the top grandmasters participating, sorry, commentating.
Hmm.
You have a few thousand people watching. Whereas in India, if there is an Indian tournament going on, or if India is playing an online tournament, for example, the Online Olympiad and the Online Nations Cup, we had like 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 people watching online all these streams with Samay or other comedians on board commentating. Apart from Sagar Shah, and okay, Sagar also brought in people like Vladimir Kramnik, um, Boris Gelfand, and Suresh Shekhar Ganguly, Rajabo, Anish Giri, Vidit Gujarati. They all started collaborating with him, kind of. So this is basically wonderful for chess in India right now. You have a huge presence of non-chess players who are all interested in chess, who are all following chess very actively. This also means that there is a lot of potential for chess in India. So future is going to be even more exciting, I think. Even after the pandemic days are over, also we have this potential to convert that into an active chess following crowd. So that excites me a lot, to be honest.
And he's also still a very young guy, isn't he? Samay. He's only 23, but he has moved quite a lot this year, hasn't he? He's also collecting money, right, for the streams for some good deeds, doesn't he?
Yeah. Very early into his stream, he brought in Vishy Anand, Konaru Hampi, Dronavalli Harika, Vidhu Gujarati. He did a fundraiser for the Prime Minister's COVID fund. Basically, in ChessBase India, a lot of tournaments were organized where half the collected fund would go straight into the Prime Minister's COVID fund. So, for example, Nihal himself personally did a fundraising for the state of Kerala, where he is from.
Mm-hmm.
There is an organization called Chess Kerala. Kerala is one of the worst affected states because they have the maximum number of expatriates working out of India, and many of them brought back COVID into the state. So there is this organization, Chess Kerala. They organized a huge tournament online. They collected a lot of funds, which were given to the Chief Minister's Release Fund. So, like this, basically, a lot of events were conducted from which initially a lot of money was collected and given to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund. But okay, over the period of time, that has all lost steam now, because now the government has also quite regularized how to treat COVID. So we are not yet in a situation where we have to raise money for the fund and so on. That has come down, but still, sorry, we do have this presence of comedians who, on a daily basis, they are doing. For example, Sagar started a show just with end games for about a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite exciting to see people who don't even know opposition sitting and learning opposition, zugzwang, triangulation in king and pawn endings for a month or so, every day getting up at 8 in the morning and sitting with Sagar Shah on ChessBase India channel on YouTube. So this was a wonderful development, honestly. One of the main reasons have been the comedians and, of course, the hard work put in by Sagar Shah, Vidit Gujarati, and then they partnered Rajabo, Anish Giri,
Yeah.
Ganguly. So it's all a very good force, which has done quite wonderfully overall. Yes.
Yeah. A lot of players also started their own YouTube channel, like Anish Giri did, and Surya Ganguly did his own, started a kind of an interview YouTube channel, which was also very interesting, I think, where he invited
Actually, Surya Ganguly's channel was the best for chess players because he brought some of the elite of the world in his channel for proper chess interviews. So you had Vladimir Kramnik, Boris Gelfand, So Wesley, Levan Aronian, David Navara. You had this real who's Vasher Lagrave. So this was very exciting. Surya did a very good job, and of course, he started with Vishy Anand and then Vishy with Aruna. So that was a wonderful show as well.
Yeah.
So Surya has done the best for chess players as a show kind of a thing on YouTube.
Yeah. Yes, great job. Yeah. And how strong is Samay, actually, Samay Raina? How strong is he elo-wise? Well, what would you say?
Okay, I think he's about 1,800 to 1,900 or so, but honestly, I'm not following that actively, the chess part of it. For a chess player to go and sit in the show is very difficult, because these are for 1,000 to 1,900 crowd or so. So I honestly don't follow it personally, but I know that there's a huge crowd sitting there all the time. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's cool. Did you follow a lot of chess online tournaments this year? Only the big events, but also events like PogChamps, for example?
No, I didn't see that. Honestly, I have not been following much out of India when it comes to online tournaments. I did follow the Olympiad. The Olympiad has a huge following in India, especially because, India was declared joint first. With Russia.
Yeah,
you know what happened, right? They lost connections and two of them and all. But the winning of the online Olympiad was received in India excellently. Starting with the president, the prime minister, the cabinet ministers, they all congratulated. Indian parliament read out a statement of congratulations for the Indian team. I think that's happening for the very first time. So basically the Indian triumph was taken very well. Of course, you had all this, for example, there was this Indian Junior Cup conducted by Chess Base India about a couple of weeks ago. It was won by Nihal Sari. That was a very well followed event. And of course, we have been following the Asian Championship in which India surprisingly lost to Australia in the finals. That was a very good event. And of course, the Online Nations Cup, which was held, I think, right at the very beginning, right? Somewhere around May or so.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good event as well. Okay. China won very convincingly. Yeah, I have been following. And individually, we follow a lot of Hikaru Nakamura, Andrew Tang, and that kind of things we follow a lot. Honestly, it's very exciting for a chess player. Some of the boys whom I train, they've all lost their sleep for the last 1 year because they start playing this title Tuesday tournaments conducted in chess.com, and typically it starts at ghostly hours for Indians, 10 o'clock midnight, 11 o'clock midnight, and then it goes on till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock midnight. So it's very exciting right now. You can play a chess tournament literally every day if you don't mind sacrificing your sleep.
Yeah, there's a lot of chess online. You can play 24/7 nowadays, I think. Tournaments and all, it never ends actually. But how did you follow the Online Olympiad? Did you follow every match of the Indian team, or just follow the semifinals, finals?
No, I was following everything. Okay.
And, it was a big crowd, right? In India on YouTube, you said tens of thousands of people watching this event.
Yeah, the final on YouTube at Chess Base India was being watched by about 67,000 or something. I don't know the exact number, somewhere in the higher side of 60,000. That was a fantastic event. But yeah, all the Indians, we were all following all the matches, not just Indian team itself. You had the who's who of it. For us, it's just a poor cousin of the actual Olympiad, which was supposed to take place in this year. So it was followed very widely in India. That was a very exciting event. One blemish was the internet connectivity part. And India, in spite of all our technological advancement and everything, we still have problems with internet and electricity and so on. A funny story is, during Olympiad, Vishy had a problem with power outages at his home at some time of the day when actually the Olympiad was taking place. So the coach of the team, Grandmaster Srinath, he contacted the local electricity board and requested them, please don't cut power at Vishy's house when the tournament is going on. So it was a lot of fun, actually. Srinath did a lot of jobs like this, making sure that people had internet properly, people had electricity properly. So the last in Twitter, I was teasing him. I think you should now stand for the local legislative assembly in the next elections. You're getting very popular.
I think so, yeah. What do you think about the decision itself, granting both teams the gold medal? Don't you think it would have been fair to say, well, play it again one day later, perhaps?
See, again, it's a very complicated thing, and it's happening for the first time when even the FIDE is still drawing up rules. In my personal opinion, I think it was a fair decision, as explained by Emil Sutowski and Nigel Short to a certain extent, and of course by Dwarkovich. Really, really elaborately, he had given an interview in chess.com to Peter Doggers. I think it was a just decision because honestly, you cannot just hand it over to Russia, as well as you cannot postpone the match to the next day because already the games have been played. So I think it was a fair decision. Fair in this, or you can put it this way: under those circumstances, probably that was the best decision FIDE could come up with. Practically, I mean, personally, I find it fine.
Good. Let's move on a bit in the year. October, 23rd of October, the Queen's Gambit came out. And I think enough has been said already, I think, this year about the Queen's Gambit. Extremely popular TV series. And people want to listen to my conversation with Alan Scott. I can recommend to listen to one of my previous episodes of this podcast. But you have something to say about a biopic coming up about Vishy Anand. What can you tell me about that? That's going to be exciting. Who's going to play Vishy, for example?
Actually, no decisions have come out. No details have been worked out. Okay, the director basically is a very popular director named Anand L. Roy. So basically, he has been slated to direct this. He's quite a well-known director in Bollywood. But honestly, very honestly, personally, I'm really scared to death of what they're going to do about Vishy.
Really?
In India, we have this tradition in the last 2 decades of making biopic on sportsmen. Okay. So far, so good. Then in India, we have to make it emotional. We have to make it drama. Okay. And the problem is when there is drama, there has to be a villain. There has to be a song. There has to be a duet when typically the hero and heroine are running still around trees. Believe me, even today in Bollywood, in movies made out of Mumbai, the heroes and heroines are still running around trees, even after all these years. That I don't mind if they do to anyone, but doing that to Vishy Anand, please, that's really scary for me. See, I'm hoping against hope that they won't make a villain out of Gary Kasparov. Or even worse, if they would make a villain out of Vladimir Kramnik. This is really scary for me. The problem is all the sports biopics in India have made villain out of one guy throughout the movie. You get me? See, recently, about a couple of months ago, there was a biopic on one of the very renowned mathematicians of India. named Shakuntala Devi. Unfortunately, the movie was nothing about her mathematics almost. It was about the problem she had with her daughter, the emotional problems. That was the focal point of the movie. You get me?
Mhm.
So, see, for example, you come to me and ask me, let's write a biography of Anand. Where shall we focus on? I would first focus on his race to through the candidates and reaching the pinnacle and losing to Kamsky in the semifinals in the FIDE cycle in 1992, and then defeating Kamsky and going and um, challenging Kasparov for the world title in 1992. Then I would come to 2000, by which time Anand had become the monster of opening preparation. And of course, he was still in his playing peak. So, in fact, the tournament when he defeated Shiro and becoming world champion, that wasn't, as a fan and as a friend, it wasn't all that exciting for me. For me, the excitement was when he defeated Vladimir Kramnik, because to be very honest, 2008 match, you could not have called Vishy the favorite of the match beforehand.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, the maximum you can say was that it was a 50-50 match. But he brilliantly defeated Kramnik. Brilliantly. It was a completely one-sided match. Okay, you were there. You were in that crowd of what happened. You know much better than me what happened. Then even more drama in 2010 when he played Topalo, the Iceland, the volcano, the ash, and all those stories which every chess player knows by then.
Yeah, talking
And
about
then
villains.
2000,
Yeah.
okay, there were real villains, but let's not talk about them
No.
now. Okay, by the way, okay, I have great respect for Vasilin Topalo. Fantastic chess player. I don't want to, definitely, he should not be the villain even if they match a movie. Fantastic chess player. 2012 was almost an anticlimax because, it was not an easy match, which Anand, it appeared as if Anand was the clear favorite beforehand, but the match was anything as such.
Yeah.
Anand being the favorite and all. But it was an interesting match. I was also there personally. You're also there personally. We knew what happened. See, this is what I will focus Anand's career on. And somewhere along the way, I will also focus Anand as a chess player in rapid chess, any form of speed chess. Even till to date, I remember, you remember in 90s, there were these Intel Grand Prix tournaments, which was an initiative of Gary Kasparov with one of the organizations he had at that time, PCA, Professional Chess Organization,
Yeah.
Professional Chess Association. There was a question answer with Evgeny Barev when it was asked, okay, I think he played a tiebreaker with 5 minutes blitz against Mickey Adams and he won or something like that. I don't remember exactly. So it was Adams, you did this. So it was, if it was Ivanchuk, what you would have done, etc., etc. Then finally they asked him, if it was Vishy Anand, what you would have done. Pat came the reply, I would have just resigned because there is absolutely no point competing with Vishy in shorter time controls because he's heads and shoulders above all of us. See, if it is a biopic, this is basically what I would focus on. What is the name of that biopic which came on Fischer Spassky match? The film on Fischer Spassky match.
Yeah, I know which one you mean. If it's
Pawn Sacrifice, yeah.
Pawn Sacrifice, of course.
So if you saw Pawn Sacrifice, they almost attached some villainous tones to Spassky. Spassky is the last person in the world. Again, at that time, you should make it a villain of. If at all you should paint a villain, it should be Bobby Fischer himself. Definitely not Boris Spassky. But still, there were a certain tones to, okay, it was an American movie and that was a Soviet guy. What else will you expect from a Hollywood movie? You get me, right? But still in that movie, which took the lead. For example, Fischer's bishop into h2 and the bishop never coming out and he just lost the game. And then Fischer playing c4 and then converting into a Queen's Gambit declined and beautifully defeating Spassky in a Tartakova in a World Championship match. Again, they were all expecting Fischer to play only e4. These were really, really focused on and highlighted in that movie. Whereas in a Hindi movie, I'm really really terrified. Just hoping against hope that it's very important that these people, the makers of the movie, I hope they will hire good chess consultants, good chess players to get proper perspective. And I hope they will not make Vishy Anand and Aruna to run around trees. That's what I'm hoping right now.
And those biopics are also very long, isn't it? Those Indian biopics, doesn't they last 3 or 4 hours or something? Or
All
forever?
Indian movies are long. All Indian movies are long, Eric. It's anywhere between 2.5 hours to 3 hours. And okay, it depends on where you go. If you are a fan of Hollywood movies, it's fine. If you are not, it's sheer torture to sit through them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I also like to hear Vishy singing, of course. Do you think they're gonna put in some music as well or not?
I would like to keep my friendship with Vishy, so I'm not going to talk about his singing.
Okay. Very good.
There are no Hindi movies without songs, so don't worry. It'll definitely be there. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, do you have any idea when it will be released or when they're going to film it, or do you have any information?
This is just the initial announcement has come.
Okay.
So typically, it may take a couple of years, even a year to a couple of years. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Talking about Vishy, he's been quite active. Yeah. He also, I saw a course how to teach your spouse chess, for example, on YouTube. Is quite funny.
Okay.
And also,
I haven't watched it, so I have no comments about that.
Okay. And he also, I think, created the Westbridge Anand Chess Academy, which he supports some of the youngsters, and they received a fellowship and will personally be mentored by Vishy. Do you know anything about it, and do you know why they picked these 5 people?
Yeah, that's actually a wonderful development. I was telling you, right? There were these microsense computers. They started this with Kramnik, and then they joined Gelfand as well. The person who heads the company, he is basically a chess player. He was a national junior champion once. His name is Kailasanathan. So he, in fact, had also approached Vishy at that time, but then the pandemic came in and all those plans fell through. Now, I'm quite happy that Westbridge Capital, based out of Bangalore, I think they're into, they're an investment firm based in India, the Indian arm of it. So the 5 they've chosen is 4 of them are the top 4 brightest talents of the country. So you have Nihal Sareen, Gukesh Pragnananda, and Ronak Sadhwani. And among the girls, the brightest among them, Vaishali, who is also the sister of Pragnananda. And Vishy has agreed to do that. Vishy was always also doing, for a company called Unacademy, he was also doing some kind of online lectures as classes for all kinds of chess students. But this is going to be quite special because for these youngsters, there cannot be a better mentor than Vishy, right? So this is a really great opportunity for these youngsters. And personally, I'm quite happy that, Vishy has said yes for this, because this is quite a big responsibility on his shoulders. But I believe also he's not playing much of online events. I think he's tired of playing these online events. So he's not playing much of online events as well. So it's quite a good way for him to spend his time. I mean, the chess fraternity of India are very thankful to him for this.
Yeah, it's great to see, because the future is bright, of course, in India with all those talents. You also have experience in spotting talents. Do you see anyone as talented as Vishy, for example? But you grew up, you're about the same age as Vishy. You saw him as the first grandmaster in India, I think, in 1986. I think. I'm not completely sure.
Yeah, he became a grandmaster in 1988.
88, yeah. Okay. But 88, do you also work with talents? What makes a talent really someone who could be a world championship candidate? What's the difference? There are a lot of prodigies, of course, in the world, and also in India. But what is special? What makes a prodigy a special prodigy?
I would like to borrow the words of Efim Petrovich Geller, who was there in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu in India when Vishy became Grandmaster. So in the tournament where Vishy became a Grandmaster, the Sakti Finance Grandmaster tournament held in Coimbatore in 1988, Efim Geller loses to Anand and he goes back to Moscow, and in Central Chess Club Moscow, people started teasing him. Efim Petrovich, we hear that you lost to a boy in India. And Geller says, boy, I probably lost to a world champion.
Mm-hmm.
And it came true after how many years? 12 years. Yeah. So talent-wise, there is a lot at there are a lot of possibilities in India, a lot of potential in India. Personally, this is what I see is you cannot spot world champions in chess. It's very difficult to spot world champions because the current world chess works like this. There are a lot of talents. There are many talents in India who can all make it to 2700 and beyond. In my personal opinion, from what I've observed about how prodigies move up, as well as about training players of various levels, this is what I believe. Anyone with reasonable talent and hard work, they can all become grandmasters. I'm talking about the highest level here. A lot depends on the character, the opportunities you get, and sponsorship and all that. Then you can move on beyond 2600 and reach 2700 and so on. But at each and every level, 2600, 2650, 2700, 2750, we are talking in the notion of ratings, but I'm not actually mean the ratings. I mean a path that the talent takes to reach the pinnacle. It all depends on many things which is out of someone's hands. See, for example, I've had the pleasure of interacting with Anand's parents. Anand's mom used to tell this in conversations. See, Vishy basically was the third kid in our family, and the age difference between him and his brother and sister are very huge, like more than 10-15 years. Due to which Vishy was really the kid of home, and there were almost 4 guardians at home for him. Apart from parents, he also had his sister and brother. And by the time Vishy came along, sorry, the parents had settled a lot in life, and so they had full attention they had for Anand. So Anand had a wonderful childhood. Then he picked up chess, and then he had this enormous mental capabilities that he has. You know that. What kind of a human being is he when it comes to, when he applies his mind, how much he is able to understand anything under the sun, not just chess. You know that. All this combined to make Vishy a world junior champion and then the world elite. But then you reach there, it all depends a lot on what is the stage at the top, how you get further breaks. Again, for Vishy, he met this wonderful Spanish couple, the Neves Perea and I'm sorry, I'm not getting both the names. The Perea couple, basically, in Spain. So they kind of adopted him, and he stayed in the same place, Collado Meriano, in the outskirts of Madrid. That helped him a lot. He was able to live in Europe. Anyone who plays in India, I try to tell them, if you really want to go beyond the stars, reach for the stars, you cannot be sitting and playing only inside India. See, for example, Hari has done that, but even Hari didn't do that in his early 20s or late teens. Sorry, he did it much later in life. The same way Adiban, Vidit Gujarati, Sethuraman, today's big talents. Unless they make it to Europe, unless they live in Europe, where the chess action is for 8 months in a year, at least if they stay there, they cannot travel the path that Vishy traveled. These are things which I very strongly believe in. And see, for example, beyond 2750, everyone is ambitious, right? Everyone works for 12 hours a day when there is a world championship or when there is a World Cup coming along. everyone has a V-shaped body. Everybody has six packs. They all work on their physique also. So the competition level is so high. At that point, what happened in your past? Whether you had a happy childhood, whether your basics in chess are good, whether did you read the important books that you should have read, all that comes out. So this is basically a scenario with a lot of variables which are completely out of your hand, right?
Yeah, sure.
So you cannot say that there is the next Vishy Anand, but there are definitely many 2700s possible.
Yeah.
These four boys and the girl whom we discussed just about, they can all make it to the very top. And they all are potential world champions. In the second rung also in India, there are a lot of grandmasters. We have a lot of teenage grandmasters in India who are incredibly strong already. There is this boy from interior Tamil Nadu named Inian. There is Arjun Kalyan from Chennai. There are a couple of talents from West Bengal, from Kolkata. There are many, many incredible talents in India. Do you get what I say? So
Yeah.
it all depends on how they're going to progress from here to there. That's it.
A lot of those names you just mentioned are not even known in Europe or in the rest of the world. I think they're incredibly strong already, but well, there's a big pool of talent, of course, in India. So the future looks
for example,
bright.
I just forgot two very important names from Delhi. Prithu Gupta, the 2500 grandmaster, still a teenager. And we have Aryan Chopra, already 2600, still a teenager. The list is very long. Abhimanyu Puranik from Pune, 2600, still a teenager. You get it, right?
Yeah.
It is just not Nihal, Gukesh, and Prag only. We have this battalion of guys just behind them. At any point, they can actually, shoot up and reach 2700 at any time.
Yeah.
That's what basically the chess potential in India is awesome right now.
Yeah. But also the potential then for people like you, like trainers and mentors, of course. It's also needed to accompany those avalanche of young players, of course, and also new players, people who discover chess this year.
Course. Yeah. See, for example, three strong grandmasters have now joined together: Ramesh, Ganguly, and Magesh Chandran. They formed this online training platform named Pro Chess Training.
Yeah.
So they are going to even train grandmasters among them. So these are all very, very welcome developments happening. So. Yeah. It's going to be a great time in India in the coming years for chess.
Okay, very good. Sounds good. I would say we wrap up 2020 for now at the moment. We also wanted to talk about chess books, and that's coming up in part 2 of this interview. And I would like to say thank you very much for this moment, Venkat Saravanan, and we will be back very soon with part 2, Venkat Saravanan talking about the best chess books of 2020. Thank you very much for the moment.
Thank you, Eric. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.